So yeah, my name's Simon Lee. I look after Livescribe for Europe, and I've known of Urability for quite a while, and I really like what these guys are doing. So we're hoping that we can obviously enhance everybody's understanding during the course of this morning, and hopefully you guys will have a much better explanation of what the Livescribe ecosystems can do for you. We're going to go through and concentrate mainly on our Echo product. We have three different recording systems, note-taking systems, but the one that is, I believe, or I've been led to believe, is most used in this environment is the Echo product. We will touch on some of the others, and certainly in Q&As you can question me on the others and where we're going with the product going forward. But firstly, can I just ask, by a show of hands, who's familiar with Livescribe product? Right. And how many people actually use them? A handful. Okay. So we're going to kind of work on the basis that everybody knows nothing, because for two reasons. One, I can step you through each of the processes, but also, if you've been using it, you may have fallen into some bad habits and perhaps you're not utilising it as effectively as you may. So we're going to kind of start with a bit of a blank sheet of paper, so to speak. So Livescribe smart pens essentially all work on the same premise, that we are using pen and paper to capture notes and audio and then take it into the digital arena and being able to manipulate the data going forwards. Each of the three systems works on that basic premise. And the system is a pen, specific Livescribe paper, which comes in a variety of forms. And then with the Echo system, we're utilising a desktop software as well. So it's a closed system in that regard, in that you physically have to associate the pen with a laptop, Mac or PC. There's been a number of note-taking systems in the past that have been available. There are some available which use a little receiver on the top of the paper which captures handwriting. There are a million audio note-takers in the world. But Livescribe technology is the only system which connects and links the audio to the written word. And I'll demonstrate that later if you haven't seen it. Now, in this environment, it's not ideal because we would normally be crowding around the page, but we can do that over lunch for some of the specifics. So, what I'm hoping to cover today is literally just going to whiz through a familiarisation session. We're going to walk through the pen, paper and desktop. We're going to look at paper controls and some of the extra bits and pieces that you may not have utilised yet. We're looking at the physical note-taking and paper replay elements of the system. And then we're going to look into the desktop and how we save, search and organise our notes and produce custom notebooks. Then we're going to look at the sharing systems and look at some of the tips and some of the hidden things that you may, as users, not actually have come across. We'll look at some audio enhancements, talk a little bit about firmware upgrades if we get time, and I'll step through our other systems as well. More than happy for people to interrupt as we go, as opposed to waiting for Q&A at the end. If you think that that's appropriate, then that's absolutely fine. So I'm just going to start with a smart pen familiarisation, essentially. All of our pens, both Echo and Wi-Fi, operate on exactly the same form factor. Essentially, smart pen, which has an audio jack at the top, a micro USB connector, which is for charging and for transferring the data. It's got a display, has a microphone and speaker built in, and literally replacement inks just slide out from the end, and there's also pen caps included in the box. And as I said, always operating with the Livescribe paper. The paper is, every page is unique. It's a micro-dotted paper. The camera, the infrared camera, doesn't see the ink. It only reads the microdots, so it knows where it's been, almost like a GPS for a pen, if you like. But what it also means is that every notebook has pre-printed icons, which enable you to get more value out of the pen, make it do other stuff, literally just by touching down on the front of the book. you can do everything from use it from a calculator to turning the screen round if you're left-handed, and so on and so forth. So literally, once the pen is initialized by turning it on, you can immediately just jump into touching down on the page, and I'm just working through the calculator, and then it will give me the answer directly on screen. Very difficult for you to see at that distance, so I appreciate that. So being able to utilise the shortcuts that are pre-programmed into the pages is very important, and it enables you to navigate the system. This is what we call the Nav Plus, which is basically a menu for the pen, so you can scroll up and down through the different features within it. The important things are the record and stop icons, so that as you are making your notes, you literally are stop, starting, record. Because if I just started to write with the pen turned on, it's just going to capture my handwriting. As soon as I click the record button, that's now become an audio recorder, and I can just literally place that on the desk and not do anything else. But it's much better if yourself or the students are writing as they go, because that is literally going to be a signpost through the audio track. It doesn't matter if they're not particularly great note takers or don't have the ability to decipher their notes afterwards, because they've got the audio track. So as long as they're literally just making a mark, and it's slide 1, it's slide 2, or drawing, copying what was on the whiteboard, whatever it may be, it means at any point in the future, you touch back on the notes, and I'll just plug the pen in so that you can hear. So at any point in the future, you place the pen back onto the notes that you've made, and it will play back the audio that was captured at that time. Literally just making a mark, it's slide 1, it's slide 2, or drawing, copying as they go, because that is literally going. Okay. So what that enables you to do is, when you're reviewing your notes, and a student can't understand what a particular note meant or wants to, relearn that particular part of the lesson, they literally just place the pen back and repeat until they understand what was going on. And it means, of course, that from a revision perspective, you've got an entire course retaught by a teacher again for revision at a later date. So there's no ambiguity as to what was going on, because you've got the audio track. But the ability to be able to hop around lectures at any time in the future and just review the specific notes that you're interested in, not the whole lesson. You're just able to dive in to the bit that you didn't understand or you want to review. And that really is the beauty of the system in that regard. And then we have the desktop software, which is when it enables you to then fully back up all of the notes and audio, and then manipulate the data and do other stuff with it. So I'm just going to switch now to my version of desktop so that I can show you around that. Okay, so this is my version of the desktop software. You can have as many copies of the software as you require on different machines. It's just free to download, so that you can associate one pen with multiple machines. Or, in this case, there's a drop-down menu here, and you can see that my desktop is associated with multiple pens, and I can just toggle between the pens. So if you're using it in a classroom situation, you can have one version of the software and multiple pens associated with that. Or if you happen to be using it, you can have one copy at the office and one copy at home. And literally, when you plug the pen in via micro USB, it backs up all of the data to as many machines as it's associated with. So it gives you that degree of flexibility. In this scenario, we can toggle between the pens. So if I select that pen, for instance, this will bring up all of the notebooks and all of the notes that this pen has seen. Okay? If I was to jump to another pen, it would change the notebooks that's associated with that particular pen. So that's how you would navigate between pens and data associated between multiple pens if you were using it in that way. So the system as it is here, you'll see that this is multiple different books that have been associated with that pen. Not very useful in that regard, because if you happen to know that the note I'm looking for was in the subject 1A5 notebook, then that was lucky. But what I can do if I can't find something is there is a keyword search here. So if I'm going to cheat here because I know that one of these notes has history written on it. So I've literally just typed in keyword. It's then going to go away and search for any page that I've written history on. And that's found that particular page there. So I like that. Now this happened to be on some of our graph paper, which is why it's actually got the crosses on it. But that found history. And what I can do, once I've found my notes that I'm interested in, I can create what's called a custom notebook. So if I was to create a custom notebook, here I just bend down, and I'm going to create one for each of my lessons. So I'll have a history book, a geography book. So
after questions, just for people who haven't used them before, getting the actual notebooks into the software, saving an account, that's all part of the process before you get started formatting and information. Right? So I'm just thinking, for a student who's going to get one of these pens,
yeah,
it's not straightforward. There's the software in, and you have to set an account, and you have to add notebooks into that account. Then start syncing it, am I right?
No, that's not, no. When you initialize a pen, first of all, it is always best that you register the pen, because then you'll get email additional information from us. But when you start to write in any new notebook, the pen works that out for itself, and it's only when you plug it in, then it will then create that menu of books. If you've only ever used one book, there'll only be one there. If you jump to book 2, 3, 4, because you work through a progression of books, the stationery comes in a variety of ways, but they are essentially numbered. So an A4 pack, books 1 to 4. You literally work your way through those from start to finish. The student doesn't need to use one for each subject and keep carrying around lots of books, because they can create these custom notebooks, which is what I'm going to show you. So they're just using one notebook for all subjects, and then when it's associated with the desktop, then being able to create their own method of filing their notes. So in this particular case, that page happens to be in A5 grid notebook 1, so it's in there somewhere of those 64 pages that I've written. But I found it via keyword search, and I then just created a custom notebook, and then I can literally drag that page into history from there. So it happens to be scrolling down. That was that page there. I drag that into my history, and then that's created a custom notebook. And as I work my way through the term, I've got all my history, my geography, whatever, and literally at the end of the day when I back up everything, I then just drag those into the relevant custom notebook and create my own note-taking system effectively.
Does it keep it within the original?
It does indeed, yeah. So it's a mirror of that. So it's in that notebook, it's one of those 64 pages, but it's then in my custom notebook of 1 page thus far. Okay. So that gives the ability to be able to create their own method of storage, and hopefully being able to easily navigate. And when you have found the page that you want to review, like I did with paper replay when I put the pen back onto the written word, so actually playing back interactively from paper and pen, in this scenario, anything with green denotes it's got audio attached to that note. If it was just black, it would just be handwriting. And I go to the bit that I want to review, and it will start playing from there. Now this was let's just pause that. People often ask about what's the range of the microphone that's in the pen. That was an environment not dissimilar to this, in fact slightly larger room with more people in it, and that's the speaker from the front, and I'm sitting halfway down in the audience. So the range of the pen and the audio quality is as good as what's going on in the room. Obviously, if there's a load of chatter, it'll capture all the chatter as well. But if you need to enhance the audio, then you can use our recording headsets or a directional microphone, which is also available. So if you're in large lecture theatres, we always suggest that you supplement the microphone that's in the pen with external mic. And our recording earbuds have a microphone in each ear. We don't suggest that the student has them in their ears, they either hang around their necks or put them in the front of the desk. And that gives 3D recording sound, because it's stereo, because there's a microphone in each ear, and it gives you greater range. It also disassociates you heard a little bit of scratching where I'm writing, because I'm heavy on the page. If you use the headsets, then the microphone is not in the barrel of the pen anymore, so you're not picking up that background scribing if you're heavy on the paper. So you get a much cleaner audio sound if you use an external recording microphone. So again, here, as we were paper replaying, playing back directly from the page, here I can literally just go to the bit that I'm interested in and repeat until I understand. It works especially good if people are taking a lot of graphical data or maths equations and so forth, because literally you're able to copy the whiteboard exactly. You've got the teacher firsthand explaining the methodology, and you just literally just repeat until you understand.
Sorry, you don't have any examples of using the external ones?
With a better recording,
yeah.
I would have to guess which. We'll do one in the break, and then you'll be able to see. That's the easiest way to do it, I think. So custom notebooks. Right, sharing systems. So that now that you've physically backed up the pen, if you lose the pen, you've got your entire degree in your laptop or Mac or PC. That can also be backed up to external storage systems as well. So if you want to put it into cloud-based storage, that's easily done. What you're then able to do is, if I just go back to my library view again, I can share those notes with other people. I've got, because this is a test system, I've got multiple connectors, as they're called here. I can email it, I can send it to my Evernote account, I can even put it on the Facebook wall, Microsoft OneNote, and so on. So if the students or yourselves are used to using other note-taking systems, you can integrate your notes and audio directly into those other systems. And the way that is done is that when you export the document to each of those note takers, it creates what we call a pencast PDF. Okay, so if I wanted to export a particular page, let's just use this one here again, page 64, consistency, is it 64? 76, right. So I would literally click on the page that I'm interested in sending. I want to send page 76. I select the destination of where I want it to go to, and in this case, I'm going to email it. And what it will do is it then opens my email account, and then in the background creates a PDF document, which I can show you because it's already here somewhere. Oh, where's it gone?
So on the left-hand side.
Oh, there we are. Thanks. It's changed all my icons around. So this is now going to open the PDF document, bog standard PDF. So we've done all the difficult stuff in the background. Just by asking it to do that instruction, it creates a PDF. It's then, you attach it as an email attachment, you send it to the recipient, and you don't need any special software to open it at the other end. It's bog standard Adobe Reader. So the attachment would open like this, so you get exactly the page as I wrote it. Green denotes audio. And the clever bit, because although it's a flat PDF document, we've embedded the notes and audio within the PDF. So the recipient gets exactly the same playback experience as you did firsthand.
Can you just ask you a question?
Yeah.
On some of the videos that I was looking at, it says that train on it and then it'll send it.
Okay, so that's called launch line. So what you do on the page is you draw a line left to right, right to left. That is waiting for a signal. You then write email, and then you can send directly from paper, essentially, because it will then ask you for which pages. You literally touch, double tap when you're finished, and then it will ask you to select from your address book the email that you wanted to go to. So you scroll up and down. It's better if I show you in the break so you can see it. And then when you plug the pen in and it's connected to the internet, then it will go away and do that task. Obviously it can't leave the pen until it's plugged in. So that during the course of the day you could be setting up individual emails. So you've been in a meeting, for instance, you want to send it to everybody at the end. You literally would do the launch line, write email, select from your address book the emails that you want to, and as soon as you get back to your desk, plug it in, it will go away and send those notes to everybody.
Okay. Which address book is in
Within the software, you would either copy your contacts over, or you can create new ones. And then when you plug the pen in, it then transfers them to the pen, and then they're there, and you just scroll through them to get to where you want to be.
So you have to set the addresses up in the address book in the Livescribe.
Exactly. Yes, you do.
Does the pen have to be registered for those emails to send?
Yes, because you have to set up your account. Yes, because within the if I just flip back to the software here, what you would do is with each of the connectors, you physically have to set up and introduce it to your passwords and so forth. So that's going to do an update, which we won't do because I'm not on the Wi-Fi. So yes, basically what you do is you set up each of the connectors. So if it's going to go directly into your OneNote account, it'll need all your OneNote passwords, and then as you drag and drop, it'll then just go off and do the thing. So you physically just set it up, and then you can add your passwords and your additional contacts. And you would do that for each of the connectors depending upon where you want the stuff to go. But from the email, the way that you're describing is kind of a good fix, but you have to remember it's not going to go anywhere until you physically plug it in. Most people will do it from the desktop software as opposed to physically from the pen.
Simon, where are they stored?
I beg your pardon?
Where are they stored, the files?
Well, this is proprietary software, so the files are all stored onto your desktop.
Yeah, but literally where are they stored?
On the hard drive, you mean?
Yeah.
Within the Livescribe desktop software. So there's a suite of software, so they'll all be sitting in there. It's proprietary software. You can disassociate and send the audio separately to the words if you wanted to. So if you literally just wanted to export Word via the audio track to MP4, you can. Some people do that for playback, so they actually listen to the lectures on their MP3 player as opposed to actually physically going through all the handwriting again, if that's the learning style that the student's used to, or is helpful. So that's Pencast PDF, emails, and sending to Evernote and OneNote works in exactly the same way. The important bit is that teachers use this method because they actually do their lesson planning, where they're speaking and writing what will go onto the whiteboard, then create it into a PDF, and then put it into the Learning Resource Centre, so that if a student misses a lecture, they can go and download it and get the lesson as though that they were there. We use it for flipped classrooms, so that if a member of staff is ill, if they've done their lesson planning, then the substitute teacher can literally just open that file and virtually give the same lesson, even though the teacher is absent. It's used within faculties for anything from annual reviews to interviews, and then the PDF documents are put into the individual's file, so they can be accessed at a later date. Or if you're interviewing someone or you're doing a student consultation and you need to share that, then this is a perfect way of doing that, because it's not your version of reality, it's you know, there's no ambiguity because everybody that you share it with is getting exactly the same experience, even though they weren't there at that time. So it's used as a productivity tool as well as assisted technology for students, but it's used within the schools themselves.
Simon, do you feel you get much resistance to the actors and students to record the actors?
Do you get resistance from the staff? We haven't had that too much. It's either a policy that the school needs to make, or otherwise, certainly within, if you're using it within HR, then you need a policy particularly. But we have many teachers use it, and they're quite comfortable with the students recording the lectures. We have Wellington College in the UK that actually, literally, when they go to A-level, every student has a pen, and they're all recording it. And that's a very expensive private school, but that's just the way that they utilise it.
And in terms of the universities in the UK, I mean, have they put like disclaimers or policies around the use of the pen in the classroom?
Well, you see, some people can be a bit antsy about it, but the reality is everyone is carrying an audio note taker in their pocket and their mobile phone anyway. So, people can be very guarded about it, but it could be going on without them knowing. So at least what we always say is, if it's in a meeting situation and we're using the technology, we always say, do you mind if I scribe this? That kind of demystifies it. Why is there a screen on the pen? It usually means a bit of a demo goes on at the same time because people will be interested, what is this device that they're using? In a classroom situation, as I say, we haven't really had too much resistance. But it's always better if the faculty or school makes a policy that it can be used. But you know, as with you guys possibly recommending existing technology for students anyway, you know, there shouldn't be a resistance because it's enabling them to study harder. You know, it's work smarter and not harder, as we always say. So hopefully that answers your question. Hopefully you won't get too much pushback. Okay, so the last thing that I wanted to... Oh no, sorry, I'm going through some tips now. I'm skipping ahead. So that's how... Basically, we've done paper and pen, capturing notes and audio. We've done paper replay, playing back directly from paper. We've then backed up to our desktop software, and we've then played back directly from the desktop software. We've then created custom notebooks and their own note-taking and storage systems, and we've also gone through the sharing systems and the creation of Pencast PDFs. So a couple of other bits and pieces which many people, I'm surprised that you come up with Launchline, because that's one of the things that people don't actually know about, that scroll backwards and forwards and then writing email. So that's one of the tips that I was going to mention. The other thing that you can do from desktop software is you can print your own notebooks. Often people say, oh, I've got to have this special paper. Yes, you do, and it's much better if you are using the printed, pre-printed stationery of whichever size, A4, A5, lined, unlined, graph paper. There's flip-top notebooks, there's sticky notes, there's a whole array of stuff. But if you're short, or you've realised you've got your pen but you haven't got any paper, you can print directly from the desktop software in reams of 25 pages. They're obviously loose leaf, but you know, you can do that if absolutely necessary. And the other thing is that because the notebooks are numbered, and that's for a reason, what you'll notice is this is an A4 pack of books 1 to 4. On each book there is a little circle icon on the front here, and that has a purpose. When you place the pen onto that circle, it will tell you whether the book is available or not, because you can't use 2 book 1s without archiving the first book 1. So it will stop you getting what we call paper conflict. If you use the same page in a book 1, it would actually, when you back it up, it would overwrite. So effectively what you do is you work through from books 1 to 4, and then if you need to go back to A4 book 1 again, you need to archive and physically take that original book 1 off the pen. It's still backed up into the desktop software, but it frees up both memory and enables you to start again on your pen. So you literally just go through the 1 to 4 and then archive, start again. The archiving routine, literally, you have to do. The only way you can do it is to physically have the pen plugged in via USB. You select the book that you're interested in archiving, and so I won't do it now. But when you physically plug the pen in, it will let you then select the notebook. You would then go to Archive Notebook, which isn't highlighted because the pen isn't plugged in right now. Okay, and then it would put it down into your archive notebooks down here, and you can rename them as whatever is the subject. If you're archiving one of your notebooks, it won't move them out of your custom notebooks. It just remove it from the pen. So you've still got your own filing system. It's still intact.
Will it take the information from the pen then?
So it takes the information off the pen, so you can't do paper replay. You'd only be able to access your pages from the desktop software into that archive routine. You have to remember in an Echo, there's 200 hours of recorded audio before you need to do anything with the pen, and associated notes, obviously. It changes the way that students, or anybody, takes notes, because what we've found in clinical studies is actually people are listening more and writing less. So you're not getting through tons and tons of pages. You're making brief notes, little signposts through the audio track. If it's a slideshow that you know that you're going to be either emailed a copy of the presentation or you're taking away a hard copy, I don't write any notes anymore. I just write slide 1 and just listen to the speaker walk me through slide 1. When I need to review that slide, I would get the printed copy that I had or the email copy and then just click on slide 1 and hear it all again firsthand. So it means students are far more attentive. They're actually paying more attention, looking at, participating in the class, and less time head down, desperately trying to capture the whole thing. Sorry.
What's the procedure then if they've only got slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, and they want to make a PDF and they want to go back and supplement their notes with more handwriting?
That's a good point. When you're reviewing your notes on that page, you could, while you're playing back, you can add supplementary notes, and that puts them back into that timeline. So if you wanted to flesh out the notes to a greater degree, then that was the way that you could do that.
And did that create a new sheet then?
No, it's the original sheet. So if you had slide 1, 2, gap, slide 2, slide 3, then when you're reviewing the notes, you could then supplement those notes by adding some additional handwriting into that, and it puts it into that page.
So it'll update that page on there.
Exactly. Yeah. Every time you make a further mark on that page, it just integrates it back into that particular.
When you plug
it back in. Yeah. Yeah.
As long as you haven't archived it.
As long as you haven't archived it. Yeah. Correct. So it's got to be a live document. It has to be a live document still on your pen.
So if you have slide 1
Yeah.
and you have 5 minutes of audio on that,
Yeah.
you tap on slide 1 while the audio is playing, and then you
Exactly. Yeah. So I mean that's a bit clunky, but it can be done. Yeah. There's another way which I'll show you, which is where that some students use it as well, which is some people don't really know that offhand. In fact, that's the next thing I want to talk to you about. So, are you familiar with MyScript for Livescribe, which is the transcription software which takes my terrible handwriting and attempts to type it up? This is a great way for students to actually embellish their notes, if you like, because if I go back to that same page, so if I go, so there, and I want to send that page to MyScript, that's going to open the software. This is an additional piece of software which is normally a paid-for download, but for education, it's included in the pack. Only works with Echo product. So I'm going to select that page. Current page. And that on the right-hand side is now attempting to write up my handwriting.
How come it only works with that?
Because you need desktop software, because Wi-Fi is cloud-based. There we go. So I get about 85% accuracy. If you write better, you'll get a better result. You can't train it. It's not like what we'll hear in a minute about Dragon. So that, believe it or not, says Elsenham, which is a small village in Essex. and it got it right. So it's not too bad. Now what you would do in this situation is, on the right hand side, I can then make the amendments. So that's editable text. All right, so I would come over here and I would then make the amendments. Or what I could do is I could be playing back that lecture again. So I've got the audio going on in the background, and I could supplement those little notes, that's slide 1, and I can type up the additional information and add it into that file. And then export that to Word and save it. Or I can copy it directly into an email and send it, whatever you want. So that's my script. Many people use that a lot. Certainly if you are immediately, you've disassociated the handwriting from the audio at that point, but remember you've still got the audio in the original page. So that's why I'm saying that people can play back and review their notes, what's going on in the background, while they're typing up and adding additional information, if that's the way that people want to use it. Right, we've touched on audio enhancements, and we'll do that demonstration with the earbuds. Firmware updates are automatic. Any changes to the desktop software or any firmware upgrades for the pen, when the pen is plugged in and the desktop is connected to the internet, any software updates for both desktop or the pen will automatically be downloaded. You'll be prompted, but it will happen. They happen periodically. We have quite a large makeover of desktop, Livescribe desktop, in November, so that there would anybody retrospectively would be invited to download the new version. Effectively, that bug fixes and takes out some old functionality which is no longer relevant, but also makes it fully compatible with Windows 8 and with Yosemite on Mac. So it's just a general update, but it will look slightly different. It's worth pointing out that the software works exactly the same on Mac and PC. If anything, it looks slightly prettier on the Mac, but then lots of things do. But the functionality remains the same. So, sound stickers is another thing. These are quite helpful for students who can't retain information. So that you could program these stickers for instructions for them and apply them, because they're self-adhesive, apply them to pieces of equipment. In primary schools, they're used for collective learning, so one pen in 4 to 6 students. They've been learning about the solar system, and the solar system chart has got sound stickers all over it, and the kids are invited to go and do some self-learning, and they're touching on the pen and it will speak back additional information that the teacher has programmed into those sound stickers. It's quite an interactive way of learning. But for part of our DSA program in the UK, we have kids who literally can't retain very much information, and they're using laptops, but they can never work out where the hell has my documents gone. So that the assessor has pre-programmed a sticker and put it next to the mouse button, and when the student can't work out where his documents have been saved, he literally places the pen down onto the sticker, and it will say click start, click docs, click history, and then you'll be able to find where the machine has backed up his notes to. So that, just wanted to point that out. They're all they're all programmable, and the teacher or the administrator is the only person that has the control, so that it can't be deleted or overwritten by the student without the access controls. They're all reusable. For some unknown reason, they come in packs of 1,000, which is a lifetime or an entire school. So they're there. I just wanted to point that out because not many people have adopted those, but they are very useful for certain situations.
Yeah, so just on those sound stickers, in terms of if you wipe the information off the pen, where does that information on the sound sticker then sit? Or is it always...
No, it's always you can't archive the sound sticker. You physically would need to delete it with the controls.
So
it'll always be there, yeah.
So, sorry, can the students use then when the lecturer hands out notes, do they stick those stickers on the notes and record what the lecturer is saying at the time?
You could do it that way, but it would be better if you use the notebook, because then you've got signposts to review the fact. Because otherwise, if you just program that sticker with the entire, is that what you're saying? The entire
Yeah, because what happens is a lot of the students
Yeah.
So they won't be writing those notes into their notebook. They want to just write a little note on the normal paper that the lecturer gave them.
Oh, I see.
And they stick a sticker on
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
And record from there.
Absolutely. So literally, you again, pre-printed icons. So literally, you click on here. So you click on there,
Yeah.
and click on the sticker that you're going to use, and then click record.
Yeah.
And then when you stop, then it's associated with that sticker, and you just literally just leave it on. So basically, yeah, you're right. I hadn't thought of using it in that context, but basically that's how you get around standard paper or giveaway sheets, takeout sheets. Yeah, that's a good idea.
Another query then I have is some of the students they get the PowerPoint presentation printed off as well.
Yeah.
So can they print off PowerPoint presentation on little paper where you can print the paper from printer? So if they use that dot to print the paper, can they print the PowerPoint?
You'll get different degrees of success on that one.
Yeah.
It's a question that often gets asked, how can we do pre-printed? It's effectively a pre-printed form, because what you're doing, you're overlaying printed data onto the doc pages. You'll have degrees of success on that. The reason being that Anoto, who is the Swedish company that creates the doc paper, has their own business of full pre-printed forms. This is a £100 piece of technology. If you buy the ability to do the forms, it's £3,000. So they're very guarded about what they're allowed to do in that regard. So you could do it. Some people have. It's a bit clunky, and you'll get different degrees of success because when you print the page and then you try and print over it, you won't get the greatest definition on the doc patterns. But yeah, it can be done.
I guess the use of flashcards is probably a big one as well. A lot of students would use it.
Yeah.
Flashcards would pop a sticker onto it and then record it themselves.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, there is a whole guide for best practice for education, which we can circulate as well. Which I think you've got a copy.
Yeah. That's
Yeah. So firmware, accessories. Okay. So let's just flip back to the presentation, wherever that's gone. So, as I said, just briefly, a whole range of different sizes of paper, inks, and carry cases and folios and so forth, the recording earbuds as well, as I said. The flip-top notebooks are quite useful for students for very, very quick notes because it literally can go in a purse or literally in the top pocket. It's more like a policeman's notebook. So for literally if they want to grab something real quick, then that's the way to do that. But as I said to you, we have 3 note-taking systems. Now, they all operate independently. It's not an upgrade path. They were done in a timeline, but it's not a natural upgrade path. So we've literally spent all our time talking on the one that I think is most relevant and still remains relevant and ongoing for education is Echo. However, the same note-taking methodology of using a pen and paper, and exactly with paper replay as I did with our Wi-Fi pen, is that pen, as soon as you stop recording, if it's in a known Wi-Fi area, the notes and audio immediately leave the pen via Wi-Fi and they go straight into a cloud-based storage system called Evernote, go straight into your Evernote account. So that there is no plugging, there's no desktop, there's nothing. What Wi-Fi enables you to do is play your notes back on any device. It becomes format agnostic. With desktop software, it will only work on a Mac or a PC. Once your notes are sitting in your cloud-based storage system of Evernote, you can access those on anything, from an Android tablet to an iPhone to even a Kindle. Anything with a browser or anything with a Evernote app. So it makes it completely format agnostic. You can then manipulate your data and share your notes from your Evernote account. So some people find that useful. This tends to be utilised more in office situations, not in situations where you've got captive portals, because it's quite a complicated process to you've got to physically introduce the pen to the Wi-Fi. Each individual security code needs to be keyed in. It will remember them, So once you've done the office and you've done home, once you go from one environment to the next, it will immediately upload any new notes. So you can be taking notes and audio in a non-Wi-Fi area. As soon as it walks into an area it knows, then the notes leave the pen and are immediately backed up into your Evernote account. That's the fundamental difference between the Wi-Fi and the Echo.
Is it compatible with the Edgeroom when it first came out? It wasn't.
With what, sorry?
With Edgeroom Wi-Fi, it's the universal Wi-Fi for now.
Bit technical for me, not sure. We need to look that up. It should be. I don't think we. I mean, we had some real problems when we first rush released it, and it got a bad vibe. But it seems to be okay now. I mean, I can connect to here just because we've got the password. But some environments are a bit complicated. If you wander into a coffee shop and try and use theirs, if you physically have to, or like in the Hilton where I stayed last night, I physically have to go in and put my surname and my room number in order to get onto the Wi-Fi, you can't do that. You'd have to use a helper app through a device that enables you to key it in. So that's the only time when you really get into an issue. If it just wants the Wi-Fi password here, then that's good. But again, we had to go through a captive portal there, didn't we? So yeah. So you do that with there is a helper app which is on Mac or PC, so you physically have to go in through that gateway. Once you're in, it will then remember it. Yeah. And then we've got most recent, which is our Livescribe 3, which is the black box there, which is slightly different in that the pen looks more like a pen. It's designed by a pen designer, as opposed to, so it looks like a Mont Blanc, effectively. It doesn't have a screen, it doesn't have a microphone on it. It does have, as long as you're not talking to Apple, it has a stylus on the back of it. If you're talking to Apple, it's a pen cap, because they refuse to let people write on glass. So this pen, effectively, again, writing pen and paper, capturing handwriting. In order to get audio, I've got to physically have the app open on my iPhone or iPad, because the audio is recorded onto the device, not onto the pen. Okay? And then once it's in the iOS, and we can have a look at it over lunchtime when we've got the app open, so I can't project it. You can then use the power of the iOS system to do other stuff. You can email it directly from there. If you write a telephone number, you can dial it. If you write contact, you can put it directly into your contacts. A date will go in your diary, so on and so forth. So it recognises certain elements of your handwriting and makes it immediately actionable.
Okay, so you don't use an actual workbook there in that case, you literally just using the iOS with the pen?
So no, you're still having to write on our paper
Okay.
to capture the handwriting. But if you've got the app open and you click record on the page, the recording is on the device, not on the pen. Yeah. Okay. So that's Wi-Fi, effectively making it format agnostic, going through those stages and into Evernote, and then Livescribe 3, just physically different looking pen and slightly different way of working, because it has to work through the Livescribe companion app, which is free on iTunes.
What market is that aimed towards? Through?
Sorry?
What market is that aimed towards? Through? What's the benefits of using that over?
Okay, this is really because it's what's called an accessory. So anybody that has an iPad or a phone is looking for other devices to connect to it. So it connects via Bluetooth LE, which is why it's only Apple only. There will be an Android version, we hope, by the end of Q1 next year. But there isn't a standard operating system in Android, as you know. So that's kind of slowed down our development until we get more and more devices that can utilise Bluetooth LE. Because otherwise you'd be charging it all the time. But using Bluetooth LE, we've got 11 hours of charge and 22,000 pages before we can do anything. So yeah, there will be an Android app available in the new year for that. So the answer to your question is it's anybody who has a device and wants an input device. So and it gives the ability when you see it, so that I can demonstrate how you can add additional information. Because if you've written your notes, you can then, and I've been at a presentation, I can then take photographs and insert those into my notes. I'm using the power of the iOS system to actually expand the note-taking system.
How many people use that in educational?
In private education, so in really expensive schools in the UK, we have quite a lot. Because they're all now carrying, they're carrying iPads for textbooks. So in that environment, in North America, certainly in Silicon Valley, they're all on it. From my personal perspective, and that's still demonstrated by our sales in the UK, is we're still doing, if we talk about our global market, we have third Echo, third Wi-Fi, third LS3. If we look at the UK, 70% Echo still, because we are very, very heavily involved in education, and it just sits more comfortably in that space. So that's a very quick run through of everything. That's everything that personally I wanted to cover. We've got more. We have 5 minutes for Q&A now if I haven't answered any questions, but I'm here all the way through to halfway through lunch before I go to the airport. So if you want to do anything more hands-on, then normally we wouldn't demonstrate the products in this type of environment. We tend to do it around the table of sort of 6s and 8s. So if we need to dive into anything, you want to look at some of the other systems, then by all means I'll be around. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I just have a question about registering the pen to the individual student.
Yeah.
So what's happening in our school is then the student is leaving and we don't have the serial number for the pen, so we're just wondering how do we register to a new student then?
Right, so what you would do is that you do from the desktop, you would do a factory reset, which would completely clean down all the personal information and would take it back to an out-of-the-box experience. So you re-register it.
And then will the student say all their notes and stuff, will that be still in there on their laptop and stuff?
Exactly.
Yeah, they'll be okay, it won't.
No. So you backed it up
Yeah.
onto whatever device. That's all there, irrespective of if you lose a pen or whatever. If you factory reset the pen, what it does is takes their data off and it cleans it right down and then give it to the other student. They would, as within that software, you saw that I was naming the pens.
Yeah.
So when you go through the registry process, you name the pen and it'll just be blank.
So we register the pens then and give them out, and then we do the factory reset when we get them out. And if not, if the students register the pen,
That's
we
fine.
have to physically get them to a factory reset.
No, you can do factory reset independently. So save you the task, give the pens to the kids, get the kids to do their own registry.
Yeah.
They can put in all their own details, their email address, their OneNote account, whatever they need to do. When they no longer going to use that pen, give it back to you, you do a factory reset. Okay? And the way to do factory reset is it's an app which is not associated with desktop. So you physically go to our web, go to livescribe.com, and you will download a helper app, which will then enable you to completely reconfigure the pen with a factory reset, and it will upload the most recent version of the firmware onto it, so it's right up to date when you hand it out.
I can send that, maybe I get that information from you.
Yeah, by all means, yeah. It's relatively straightforward. It's a different version for factory reset for Wi-Fi than there is from Echo. But that's the only difference.
I just think probably one question would be around the Wi-Fi pen and the use of the Evernote accounts. So, like, if people get the Wi-Fi, the Evernote account is somewhat limited, I suppose. And
Well, Evernote is an upload limit. So on a monthly basis, which I believe is 250 meg, I think. But when you register the Wi-Fi pen, the Livescribe pen, Evernote double that. And then if you need more space per month than that, which is quite a lot actually, you can pay for an annual premium membership, which is I think $60.
I guess that's where the difficulty I would see maybe for colleges would be that you have to buy a subscription per user.
If you're heavy note taker, then fine. What you could do is you could do one and have all the pens associated with one Evernote account.
The Echo Pen is the only pen that uses the desktop software. All the rest of them are using Evernote.
Yeah. So Wi-Fi uses Evernote. It's inextricably linked to Evernote. And then 3 is linked to the app. Yeah. So, 3 differences.
Is there any way to access the notes that you recorded with Echo on a tablet or smartphone?
You can do that through.
Send it to everyone.
Yeah, you'd send it to. You would send it to Evernote, and then you could be able to access it via cloud. Yeah. What you can't do is you can't directly tap into the desktop software on an iOS device. That's the problem. So you would need to send it somewhere and then be able to access it remotely. Yeah.
And it will still be the fully functional.
Yeah, because if you've sent it into Evernote or OneNote and you can access that from your device, it sits there and plays back in that PDF format. Yeah.
So when you email it, can you do the email?
You can email it, but
As a PDF.
As a PDF.
And then open it on your
It's.
tablet.
I don't think you get the playback experience because PDF and Apple don't really get, Adobe and Apple don't get on particularly well. So I don't think you won't get the full functionality of the audio playback, and you'll get a flat file. Is there anything else before I wind up? No?
Is there any supplementing option then with the 3? Can they go back in and supplement notes or what happens then?
So in that environment, what you would be doing, where's my iPad? So unfortunately you can't see that and we haven't got the connections to be able to program it. But within the app, you've got similar systems. So I've got all my notebooks and my pages within my notebooks. I've got my post-it notes as well. And I select the page that I want to review. And exactly as you're used to seeing, it's got my scrappy handwriting. Black denotes that it's handwriting only, green denotes that there's audio. If I select the audio, that opens in a slightly different view, and then we'll play back.
So that's what you're writing as your book, and it's not that fresh.
I've had the app open, it writes in almost real time directly into the app. Okay. If I want to augment those notes to answer your question, I go to a slightly different view. I go to what's called a feeds view. Now, a feeds view is more like a Facebook timeline. So, whereas I had all of my notes associated with my notebooks and pages and notebooks, if I go to, and they're all in Note Recorder, if I go to my feeds view, that gives me a chronological timeline of all the notes. So if I actually wrote something retrospectively in a book, it would still be the most recent note in the timeline view, would come up first. And within feeds, that's how you can actually physically manipulate your data in terms of it being a phone number that I can dial or whatever it may be. So if I can just select one. So what it does is it breaks up the notes into little chunks of accessible data. We can look over this later, we can physically see it. But if I've got a telephone number there, for instance, what I can then do is flip it, that types it up, and then it's underscored it, so it's made it immediately actionable in iOS, so I can click on it, and if that was on my phone, it would dial it, or if not, it was on this particular case, I could send the text message. If it was a URL, it would immediately open the URL. If it was an address, it would open maps and go directly to there. So it's bouncing off the internal system of iOS. But to that point, if I want to remember this day, I can then just utilise the camera and take a photograph, and then that is then going in, and I say use that picture, and then that's going to put that photo in directly into the notes. So I'm able to add additional information. So in that particular instance, if I was using a classroom situation, I could be taking a photograph of the whiteboard and feeding it into my notes. And then when I'm reviewing, and what I could also do, because I'll always forget where I am, if I select the picture and flip it, I can then type on the back a bit like we used to when we used to have physical photographs. We used to write the date where it was taken. So you can do that and add additional information to it. But we can play with that later in smaller groups if you want to.
So one last question, very question was price differences between the three, and there's a big jump.
Price point. Okay. Echo and well, there's Echo, and we've got two versions of Livescribe 3. There's the standard edition and the Pro Pack. So if you are comparing Echo with the standard edition, they're the same price. Good example. You've got a 2 gig Wi-Fi there. It now only comes in at 4 gig, so they're slightly more expensive. But that's got increased capacity. It gives you 400 hours of recording before you need to do anything. The thing to say about Livescribe 3 is you are restricted to the amount of storage within your device. It's got nothing to do with the pen if you want audio. So it's just how much you've got available.
And you'd have to check if you're allowing if that student has a 4S on their phone or that they have an iPad.
That's correct. So
it
it
needs
needs
devices in the room.
an iPad 3 and above or 4S and above. Or 3 platform.
No, not many of our students.
Would have that. No. So you're really. Do they have Android tablets?
Some, but not many.
No. So really, you're Echo and desktop.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what we always use in land back in that place for education.
What's the difference between Pro and Standard?
The Pro edition has a year's worth of Evernote Premium and that notebook. That journal, so another journal. That's the only difference. The system itself is absolutely identical.
We might break it there if that's alright, because I'm just conscious that I want to get on to doing some dragging after speaking, and we've already advanced over. So we just have tea and coffee and stuff here. We might just take kind of 5-10 minutes.